Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the I Heart Guitar podcast. I'm Peter Hodgson and I'm in bed with my cat. It's a Monday here, Queen's birthday long weekend, so I've just had a kind of quiet day, just chilling around the house. I spent a lot of time on the weekend working on some new music, more of this kind of gothy, alternative kind of thing I'm working on. Although one of the two songs I worked on yesterday has a little bit of a shred element too. I'd like to see if it's possible to blend those two styles. So we'll see how we go. Anyway, today's episode is an interview with Tommy Thayer of Kiss. Now, forgive the name drop. I go back a bit with Tommy. I worked with him a bit when I was at Seymour Duncan, so we did some interviews back then, and you know, we had caught up a few times at NAMM and stuff like that. So we had a really good chat. We kind of referenced Seymour Duncan a few times. He's a big fan of the JB set. Actually, he uses a JB in the neck as well as the bridge, which is not a common way to go, but it's actually really effective. So yeah, we geek out about that stuff a bit. Mainly this interview is to promote the forthcoming Australian Kiss tour, which of course is going to be their final shows in the country as part of their farewell worldwide tour. So it was great to catch up with Tommy, and that's enough waffling from me. I'm going to drop you into the interview kind of right after the "Hey, I know you" pleasantries at the start of the phone call. So here we go, Tommy Thayer. So, like everyone else, I'm really excited about this tour. I'm sure it's going to be bigger than anything else you guys have ever done, because it has to be.
Well, it has to be, and you're right. I mean, I know it sounds like the typical soundbite. This is going to be the biggest tour we've ever done and all that kind of stuff, but it literally is something that we're starting from scratch with a whole stage set. We're not going to repurpose anything. We're going to come out with a whole new thing, all new technology. We've been actually rehearsing and working on the production for this for a couple months already. And, you know, I can tell already that just by the work we're putting into it that it is special, and this is going to be a, you know, incredible tour, bigger and, you know, more badass than anything we've definitely done before. So yeah. I think we're all really excited.
Yeah. I understand it's going to go for quite a while before you finally, you know, play that final show.
Well, it could, you know. I mean, the whole tour, we have a plan to go all through the entire world, and over the entire world. We're going to start in North America in January, and then we get to Europe in May. But last week, the North American tickets and the European tickets have gone on sale, and the shows are just blowing out. You know, selling out already. So we know we're on the right track.
Yeah. I guess you must kind of reflect a lot on the last, what is it? You've been in the band for 18 years now? No.
I've been in the band about 17 years.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, in that time, to me, you've really kind of made the Spaceman your own, you know? And I feel like you've done that via things like, you know, the cool Explorer and the white Les Pauls and stuff like that. With Seymour Duncan pickups, of course. Yeah. So given that you've been inhabiting this character of the Spaceman for so long now, what does he mean to you? What does he represent to you?
Well, it represents a great honor to me to fill those shoes. I have a lot of respect for Ace and all the great guitar players that have been Kiss. Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick. They're all great. And to be in that role and wear that outfit every night, I wear it proudly. And I'm really living every kid's dream. I mean, every kid dreams about being the lead guitar player in Kiss or a band like Kiss, you know, growing up in your bedroom. And I'm living that dream. And I had the same dream when I was a kid. You know, I played air guitar before I played guitar.
Yeah.
And in my parents' living room. And it's just an honor. It's hard to describe, but it's something I don't take lightly, and it's, you know, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, that's for sure.
Yeah. one of the things I really love about this particular lineup of Kiss as well is that you guys aren't afraid to dip into things that weren't just from the makeup era, you know?
Right.
And there's some
well,
great...
on this tour, on the Kiss End of the Road World Tour, we are going to be playing songs purposely from every era, 70s, 80s, 90s. We want to find a nice cross-section of all the eras and play songs that represent all eras of the band equally. So we're going to be bringing out some more 80s stuff. We're going to be playing more songs in the set than we've ever normally done also. I don't know if it'll be Bruce Springsteen length set, but it'll be longer than a lot of Kiss sets we've done the last few years. So we're already working on that and finding the songs that are just right, that people are going to be getting on their top of their seats and getting their fists in the air and going crazy for.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. We want that crowd reaction, and which is really the reason we don't go too deep sometimes on the big tours, deep cuts, because it's really crickets. If you play a song that most people don't know, then everybody sits down and it kind of ruins the energy. So
yeah,
we're picking just the right song.
I've talked about that with Joe Elliott once, where Def Leppard have so many fans who know, they may love the band, but they may only know specific songs off the radio or whatever. But that doesn't make their fandom any less than the guy who has every B-side. But it does mean that.
Yeah.
It does mean that you can't really play those B-sides because you've got 15,000 people in an arena and maybe 400 are going to go yes, I never thought I'd hear that song, and the rest are time for a beer.
yeah. Where do I go to get a hot dog? Right?
Yeah.
No, it's true though. So I mean, we want to please the most people as much of the time as we can, and with that in mind, you have to do it that way. It's just the same thing if you go to a Rolling Stones concert or you go to a Paul McCartney concert. You know what songs you want to hear. I mean, I think it's obvious. So
yeah,
and the people that really want to hear the deep stuff, you go on the Kiss Cruise. And for people that don't know what the Kiss Cruise is, it's every year we do a special cruise with 3,000 Kiss fans. And we go out for 5 days on the Caribbean and do a few shows. And it's incredible. Sells out quickly every year. And on those, generally, we get to play. We will play deeper stuff because that's a different breed of fan on the Kiss Cruise. It's, those are the people that want to hear that stuff and they expect it. So we have that, and we cover that when we need to, and we do adjustment. We adjust things when we go on tour and do arenas and stadiums and do pop. The stuff that people want to really hear.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, in Australia, there are certain songs that I understand really pop that, I think, Shandy and stuff, there are just certain songs, Sure Know Something, that seem to really grab the Australian audience as far as I've heard. So.
Well, that's right, and so we keep that in mind when we come to Australia. We might play Shandy. We might play Sure Know Something. We might definitely do, I Was Made for Loving You.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because those records like Dynasty and Unmasked were very popular down there. When Kiss first came to Australia in 1980, that was the thing. So
yeah.
But, we'll adjust here and there for different territories. I mean, when we go to Europe, Crazy Crazy Nights is a huge song that was never a real big hit in the U.S., but it's very, very big in Europe and England and that sort of thing. We'll adjust and play those songs.
Yeah, cool. Hey, as a long-time Gibson player, and of course I used to work for Gibson. I wrote for their website and stuff, so I'm not looking for anyone to trash the previous administration or anything like that. I was wondering what your opinion is on the new direction Gibson's going in, because to me it looks really exciting. And as a Gibson fan for many years, it's they're doing exactly what I think they should have done.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're doing right now. I know they just went through a big kind of a reboot on the whole company, but I've always had a great relationship with Gibson, and of course Epiphone, who does my signature guitars, and I'm actually working on another new one right now that will come out in coordination with the tour next year. So great people, great organization, great company, and I've played Gibson my entire career ever since I played guitar. I mean, I've never got off track. In the 80s, I didn't play the wang bars. I mean, a little bit, but I didn't get too much into all that. I've always been more of a traditionalist and, played a great Gibson Les Paul or something similar, maybe an Explorer and that sort of thing.
Mm. What was your first Les Paul?
First Les Paul I got was when I first started playing guitar. After about 6 months, I found a used gold top deluxe.
Yeah.
Les Paul Deluxe in the paper. I spent $350, and that was my first real Gibson Les Paul, and it was a thrill to have that guitar. I think eventually I ended up routing the pickups up and putting the larger humbucking pickups in it, which a lot of people did, because at the time, I think in the very early 70s, I don't think they made standards for several years. They made the deluxe, and then a lot of guitar players were changing the pickups and making them more like a standard with the bigger humbucking pickups rather than the mini humbuckers. Mm-hmm. So it was a gold top Les Paul, and then another 6 months after that, then I got I picked up a used black Les Paul custom, and I haven't looked back since then.
So what are your stage guitars like? Do you beyond the Duncan pickups and stuff? What are your setups like? Just how do you like your stage guitars to be?
Well, again, I've always been real traditional as far as my approach. Just a great guitar and straight into an amp. I don't use many effects, if any. Mm. And my guitars, I like them to be set up neck profile, kind of more like a 1958 profile, which is reminiscent of the 58 Les Paul Sunburst. Nothing fancy. I like a standard, just nice chrome nickel hardware. I use Seymour Duncan pickups, as you know, and just basic setup. And I don't know if I use 9 through 46 or 10 through 46 strings, and Seymour Duncan JB pickups that are not too high output. I don't want too much distortion. I can control that a little bit on the amp, but I like a real solid tone that has a nice kind of edge to it, and I don't like it to break up too much. So, it's pretty traditional, though. I grew up influenced by a lot of the late 60s, early 70s English hard rock blues players, whether it's Jimmy Page or, Peter Frampton, Richie Blackmore. These guys were the ones that influenced me.
Yeah. I've always wondered, playing on a stage like that with all the pyro and all the lights and stuff, how long can you go between guitar changes due to, the lights and the heat knocking everything out of tune? Like, it must be a whole different experience to playing in a pub.
Well, it's different every show, different environment, different conditions on different shows. But usually, my guitar tech, Mark Newman, is so good that he can get the guitar set up, the Les Paul, which is tricky sometimes to get it just right. I could sometimes play one guitar the whole show.
Yeah, wow.
Won't go out of tune. I mean, I don't really break strings very often. That's kind of rare. The only changes I make are, I have an effects guitar for my guitar solo, which goes into the Rocket, so it has the rocket launcher installed in it. And I go to that, and then I might switch out to the Explorer, so it's a different look for a few songs. But, in a lot of cases, I could stick with one guitar and just go for it. But it takes, it's got to be a good guitar, and you got to have a real good guy setting it up for you too. But then again, a lot of it's in the playing and the hands, the way you play, your intonation, and keeping the thing in tune. And I'm pretty good at that, actually. So
yeah, I got to finally meet Paul after all these years. This last NAMM, when I was still at Duncan, I got to introduce him to Seymour and stuff. And one thing I talked about with him was that I feel like he's an underappreciated rhythm guitarist. He's got all these great double stop licks and stuff like that. How do you guys mesh as a guitar duo? I imagine that to a certain degree, when you watch him play, like he might, play half a riff here and then do a cool pose or something. So it's like you must have this interesting interplay where you've got to like play off each other, but also know when to carry it for the other guy. And
I grew up listening to Kiss and the interplay between the two guitars. They often would take different voicings. One guy would play the lower voicing, one guy would play the upper chord voicing. And that was an influence to me, and I've always been in two guitar bands, so I'm used to that, and I know how that interplay should work, so you complement each other, so you're not just playing the exact same thing. And this was always well known for that. Paul always coming up with interesting alternative chordings and things. Like take a song like Cold Gin, which Ace originally wrote, main riff, bum 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 bum. But the interesting thing is what Paul does on that song, and most people don't realize it, but he's not actually playing that riff. He's almost playing it's just kind of a counter chord sequence that people don't realize it, but that's kind of what makes the sound. So next time you're A-B-ing your different channels on Cold Gin, listen to what the lead guitar is doing, but then listen to what Paul is doing, because it's really an interesting counter rhythm.
Yeah.
Chords, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I think he does some cool stuff, and I've always found it very interesting, the stuff he comes up with.
Yeah. So that looks like our time is about to be up in about 1 minute. So I better let you get to the next interview. Thanks so much for the chat. It's been really cool to talk again, and I can't wait to see you guys again. Yeah. And I'm going to bring my son so he can finally see a Kiss concert. He'll be 13 by the time. So, it'll be cool.
That's cool. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure.
Bringing in the different generations, the father bringing the son and the family, and that's cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's great talking to Peter, and let's stay in touch.
For sure. Catch you soon.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers. See ya.